What's up, everybody? Welcome. It's the
What's
Hana
up?
podcast with your boy, but also your other boy, Cameron.
What up, everybody? Good to see you all.
How's it going? What's new?
Nothing much. Came back from a trip. We had a whole bunch of ministry stuff. Really, really exciting time here at Metro overall.
Yeah, you got to go up to where were you?
I was up
San.
in Orange County for a ultimate leadership retreat. It was really, really feeling really good time. Awesome, awesome takeaways for me. But
Nice, nice. All right. Let's just get into this. Cameron,
yeah.
how old are you?
Well, how old do I look, Willie?
Say 48.
Wow.
Just
Really?
kidding. Just kidding.
I am 34, turning 35 in August.
34, turning 35. I am 28 years young. So I just turned 28. Let's see, 1, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 6, about 7 years.
Yeah, around
6
there
in a few months.
between us. I think the running joke on staff is there's 7-year-ish difference between you and I, and then there's about 7-year difference between Brandon and I. So I'm the middle child on staff, as I tell everybody.
The staff's middle child.
Yeah.
All right, here's why I ask. You and I could not be further apart generationally.
Why do you say that, man? We got along well.
Okay, like, all right, we do have shared experiences. Like we both played World of Warcraft when it like blew up and it like took over everything. You were a lot more into it than I was because I didn't understand the intricacies. But just the generational divide, even though there's 7 years, like the references that I make. Oh, we were talking about Dexter's Lab, so we watched a lot of the same cartoons and everything. But I don't know if it's just a once you hit your 30s thing. But man, you are an old man.
Old soul, maybe we go
Old
with that.
soul.
Old soul.
Yeah. You're an old soul stuck in a young man's body.
Yes. Sometimes not feeling like a young man's body, but yeah.
Oh, I feel you on that one. I got terrible posture, dude. But yeah, dude, there are so many times where I like say something and you're like, what does that word mean? And I have to like walk you through the etymology of this new slang.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were at something and someone was talking and they said something that was like obviously very embellished. Like, let's just put it politely, is embellished. And so I turned to you and I said, oh, that's cap. And you just like stared at me and I was like, oh, right.
See, in my frame of reference, I'm like Captain America, like Captain Crunch. What are we talking about here?
Yeah, but so there pretty frequently I have to explain new slang, memes, references to you specifically. I think it's funny because you're not that much older than me, you know?
I'm just not that in tune pop culture wise and phrases. It just doesn't stick in my mind, I guess, because it just changes over time. Maybe back in my 20s, it was a little easier, but now as I get older or whatnot, I don't pay attention as much. And I also don't talk to as many young people as I should, perhaps. So I don't catch the phrases or the slangs. And you being in youth ministry, you're kind of in the middle of it. If you don't speak it, you don't understand it. Why are you our youth director?
My job, dog. That's what I do when I'm scrolling through like Instagram or whatever for a long time. Just like looking through memes, I'm like, this is market research. This is my job. This is billable hours.
Okay, so just to put my good buddy on the spot, one time he was practicing or doing research on a certain video game, call it Super Smash Brothers, and studying up and watching some of the YouTube videos on some of the best players, and I'd look over and be like, Willie, what are you doing? He was like, dog, I'm doing market research. I gotta get good for the kids. And I'm like, all right, that's justifiable.
Yeah. I'm like, Kyler, he's catching up to me, man. And that's scary. I gotta keep my top dog status,
I'm telling you, the older you get, your reaction speed is gonna go down. It's gonna happen.
Man, there's this new tech sorry, I was talking to him about this on Sunday. There's this new tech that came out. Called a slingshot, and I was like trying to lab it for like an hour the other day, and it's so hard. And it's just like, am I old or is this just hard?
All those things just went over my head, which might have for a bunch of you listening to us, but for those of you younger, you knew exactly what Willie's trying to accomplish. So,
and if you're listening to this, you happen to play Smash Bros, I'm trying to pick up Roy. If you got any advice or you want to just throw down a little bit, help me out, be much appreciated. Shoot me an email or something. Hit me up on the gram. Because my Roy is crusty, very crusty. Not even mid, just bottom. It's crusty.
Well, speaking of crusty, that's part of what we were discussing about this week, huh?
Thank you. What a transition, huh? What a transition. Cameron, you ever bake bread?
No, I don't. I buy a lot of it. I eat a lot of it, but I never bake it.
Okay. Let me tell you this. Baking bread is the worst. It is absolutely terrible.
Is it really?
Yeah, man. I mean, Pastor Brandon said his bread took up 13 hours on dough day. That's one day. It's not a joke.
Dang.
And that's one day. That's making the dough. That's not baking it. That's not feeding the starter and all of that.
I was listening to him talking about prepping for it and everything. I said, dude, that's like having a little pet. You have a little dough.
Basically a little goat, like a goldfish. You have to feed it twice a day. And like it gets everywhere. You're mixing the water and the flour, and so like it sticks to everything. Yeah, man.
Much easier to buy it from a bakery or
much easier to buy it from a bakery. Not as good though. I will say not as good.
Well,
unless you're going to really good.
I'm a little spoiled. I have Brugg and Great Harvest Company right down the road for me, so it's not that big of a deal.
You ever had a bread shop in Kaimuki?
My mother-in-law brought me some one day. It was the best sourdough bread I ever had.
Dude, they kill it.
And they sell out. Like, but they're too late, it's gone. And not an endorsement for that shop.
No, this is not an endorsement. We're not sponsored. Although Bread Shop hit me up. Throw a loaf or two my way. Yeah, like the best sourdough, like the best bread is like it takes a really long time and it's like really frustrating and doesn't always work according to your schedule. What a beautiful metaphor for discipleship. Because it often takes a lot longer than you want it to. It's frustrating. It's one thing that how I got into baking bread was 2020. I didn't have a child yet, and so I got into baking bread.
As many of you might have through the pandemic.
Yeah, you don't have a kid, can't leave the house. Let's get into bed. Let's get into bread making. And so like it's super frustrating because there's a lot of things that are like it's when you're reading recipes and instructions and everything, it's like it's done when it's done. It's like, how do you tell? It's like, oh, it should feel like this or look like this or kind of do this, but it's done when it's done.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean? And like just that idea translated into discipleship is like either when you're discipling someone else, when you're like, or being discipled, it's really hard to know like, okay, when is it like when is this person ready? When am I ready? But just to get into the nitty gritty of it, Cam, since you are the spiritual growth pastor.
Oh, dropping that title there.
What is discipleship? It's a weighty word that's thrown around,
So this is based off of some of the things I've learned from John Mark Comer and his teachings regarding it. But when you break down the word in the Greek, it's matates, and that is closely kind of synonymous more with the word that we have in English, which is apprentice. And when we are going through our discipleship or apprentices process, we are apprentices under Jesus, who is our master. And what you are expected and eventually are going to do is what the master does. So when you read through the gospels, you're reading through Jesus's life and what he did. We, as his disciples or apprentices, study and learn under him, and with the eventual expectation that we are going to do what Jesus did, that we are going to be able to do exactly what he did while he was on earth, live like how he did, interact with people, have relationships as he would have. And oftentimes we kind of coined the phrase, do what Jesus would do in that moment. But I would further contextualize it to do what Jesus would do if he were you in your particular phase of life or whatnot. So
Yeah.
I like to think of it more of the master apprentice relationship in discipleship. And that's kind of how we see it. And we see it in everyday life, whether you're in a trade, you start off as an apprentice, right? You go through that and you learn the skills of the trade. You learn how to use certain tools. There's a master craftsman or whatnot in that field who is able to impart their knowledge and wisdom to you. And the expectation is that you don't stay an apprentice forever. One day you're going to be a plumber. One day you're going to be an electrician. You're going to be a welder. And you're going to do eventually what the master is doing. So that's kind of what we see. I see it in martial arts a lot. Like you study under a sensei or a master of that particular martial art, and not the expectation that you're going to be a student forever. One day you're going to get to mastery and you'll have students yourself.
No, that is it is like very helpful to clarify. But that almost makes it more intimidating, because I would by no means call myself a master, and all of us as followers of Jesus are called to be disciples, but not only to be disciples or apprentices under Jesus, under someone who's like had in life from us, but also to disciple and have people under us. Like we're bringing people along with the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's very intimidating because I wouldn't call myself a master. I wouldn't call myself a sensei. So if you're me, maybe you like our age, or maybe even who's like older or younger, and they're hearing that and they're like, well, I'm not a master, so what do I do?
Yeah. There's that, I feel, misconception where I have to arrive at a certain point before I can teach someone something or be an example in that sense. And I think what Pastor Brandon was kind of talking about during the sermon is you're older than someone or you're further along than somebody on this journey. And what can you impart on them? I think of the maybe like junior mentor or somebody who is like a junior lead under the master. Maybe you're in like one of those classes.
Like a TA.
Yeah, like a teaching assistant or somebody who is just a little bit further on. Like in the Japanese, they use the term senpai. There's that upperclassman who is not the teacher, but they carry the same almost respect and sort of experience for like being just a little further along than you. And we see that in our high schools, right? Like sometimes there are programs that have seniors help out maybe underclassmen or maybe even elementary school students to help them along getting further. So don't limit it to I have to get everything down pat before I do this. Like there's something that you do fairly well or just further along than someone else, and you can teach them regarding Jesus or the spiritual walk, whether it's how to do devotions, maybe it's even how to pray. It might be as simple as like teaching somebody the Lord's Prayer. It could be just hearing their story and being there with them and relating in that life experience, because maybe you've gone through it yourself. And that's part of the journey that we're all on with this, that there are people who are further along in different aspects of their life than we are. And that's the beauty of this whole thing.
Nice. So we don't have to be the black belt.
No, there's a whole bunch of belts between there, and that's where the depending on your dojo, right? The yellow belts can teach the white belts, or the blue belts can teach the orange belts, or whatever. And that's kind of the deal. But it's not like a ranking thing. It's not like, oh, I'm better than you. It's more of a, hey, the way you're throwing that punch, that's maybe twist your hip a little bit more. And it's more of a suggestion, coaching, recommendation.
Yeah, I like that. It's less of a structure. It's less of like a, if you want to have a disciple, if you want to disciple someone or like bring someone along in their journey, you have to have like a structured curriculum, like a syllabus that they sign on to. And it's more just like you have been alive longer than this person. You've been following Jesus a little longer than this person. Just grab a coffee with them and like see how they're doing, you know?
Yeah.
And like it's not the, hey, listen up, young buck. It's the, oh, I went through that too. Here's what I did, you know? Here's the mistake that I made that you don't have to.
Yeah,
I guess.
exactly. And sometimes I think about leaning on those who were a little bit ahead of me before, because for all of us at some point, somebody who was further along with Jesus taught us something. Someone was discipling us. And there are times where I'm thinking about how they would have worded it, or how their experience or their teaching and coaching have influenced or impacted me. And that's part of the journey that we get in this too, that there are people who we look up to, and then it's almost like passing on that same wisdom and knowledge down to the next people.
Yeah. Okay. All well and good. Beautiful. I love it. The theory of it. Oh, perfecto.
Yeah.
What if I'm there? I'm at Metro on a Sunday morning. Service gets out. I look around and I just see, I'm just looking for someone with white hair. Like, do I just like scattershot? Bow, bow, bow. Let's go grab coffee. 5 different people in 5 different days and kind of pick the best one.
Yeah. It's I guess that's the challenge and what's tough about it, because there's not a perfect matchmaking system to make this happen. Generally speaking, what I look for in a mentor or somebody I want to apprentice under is I look at their life, maybe the fruit, maybe they're in a field that I am being challenged in, or they have a certain wisdom or experience that I want to glean from. And maybe I'd approach them and just say, hey, would it be okay if I talked with you about that? That's part of being in church community. Like, we hear each other's stories. We get to know each other, and it might just be an off thing that they said or mentioned, and all of a sudden now it's like, I not only do I respect this person and what they have to say, but I'm willing to sit with them to hear about it more.
Yeah, and a great way to do that is to get plugged in different ministries, like men's ministry, women's ministry, even volunteering with the youth. It seems intimidating, but it's not. It's a ton of fun. I always tell people, don't show up unless you're ready, like to be in it, because everyone's like, oh, I'll come check it out.
Yeah.
And then they get there and they're like, wow, this is really good. Like, I'm going to stick around, you know?
Yeah.
Not in an intimidating way, but it's just like, man, once you get there, it's like, oh, I don't know what I was afraid of. I don't know why I thought I couldn't do this, you know?
Yeah, and I think the bar is a lot lower than we think it is. And I don't know, for me, sometimes it's not even looking for someone with white hair per se. It's like somebody who's just, maybe they're just 5 years down further than I am. And I see how they're conducting themselves and how they're handling their work or their faith or the situation they're in, and I just want to learn more. Like there's a hunger I feel like we need to have in that sense. But then there's also the, as Pastor Brandon talks about, the humility, because what oftentimes prevents me from like going towards it is I think I got it.
I think the thing that always gets me is like I don't know what I'm missing, you know? Where okay, so Pastor Brandon was like, "Hey, I'm giving this message. I really want to talk about sourdough. Can you like help me out?" So I gave him some of my starter that I've had since 2018. And like I was coaching him through the process and everything. And then what was I just saying?
You were
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was looking at the monitor of my daughter who's starting to wake up. I was coaching him through the process, and he was like trying to figure it out and everything.
Mm.
And then when he finally made it, he was like, "I didn't know bread could be this good," you know?
Yeah.
Because we just do like store bought bread, which is just like the mass produced. It's like soft. The crust is non-existent. There's no ear. That's a whole thing.
Whoa, what is that?
When you bake bread, you score it. It's supposed to like lift off, and there's supposed to be like just a crust of an ear.
Oh,
and so
I learned
after Pastor Brandon baked his bread, he like a few days later he sent me a picture of store bought bread, and he was like, "Look at how terrible this is." I was like, "Now you know, dog. Like now you know." And it's one of those things of like you don't know what you're missing out on, you know?
Yeah.
And so you think, it's fine, I got this. What would they teach me? Like I can figure it out. I can go to YouTube. But it's the things that you can't learn on YouTube. It's the very specific, it's the actual life advice that we're missing out on, that we just don't know that we're missing out on, you know?
Yeah. And I guess I'm gonna bring fishing into this, right? Like there's the almost pride in the sense like I'm the self-taught, like self-made man. I did my own way on this. I figured it out. But there you'll hit a cap eventually. Like you're not gonna get better unless somebody else shows you the ropes and shows you how they do things. And YouTube can teach you only so much, because oftentimes YouTube it's great in theory. It's great in, I mean, they're curating content for views, they're curating content for, trying to make it look the best, but you put it in a real world situation, it might not work out exactly as it did in the video. And oftentimes when I'm fishing, I'm watching the video, trying to get up every single thing that I can. But maybe I just got to pick up a fishing mentor and have them show me how they tie their knots.
We gotta stop driving and just saying, "Yeah, this looks good," and pulling over to anything. We gotta actually have someone who's like, "No, this is a spot because of this and that.
Yeah.
Here's how you can look," instead of just trusting our hearts, trusting the heart of the car, Judy. Just like, let's pull over here. Shoot, man, I want to go fishing now. All right. To anyone listening, I just want to offer this one piece of advice: is that on Sunday mornings, if you are looking for someone, but you looking for someone and you're dealing with a specific issue, and you want someone like a mentor, discipler kind of thing, but you're not really sure who to go to, come talk to us as staff, like any of the Metro staff. Just say, "Hey, I want to talk to someone who can help me with this," and we'll make that connection for you, so that you don't have to go do little speed dating almost in the cafe with a cup of coffee,
That's our heart at Metro, that we're to broker relationships. And we have a new identifying mark now. We wear a tag now on our lanyard that says "Here to help." And we're more than happy to help broker those relationships with you guys, so that it's not this cold call, awkward, like, I'm just going to find somebody.
Yeah, because, dude, I understand how awkward it is. Like to just go up to a stranger and be like, "Hi, I'm so-and-so." So yeah, our new badges, they say "Here to help," because we are here to help.
Wow. Yes, we are.
by the way, the cafe, great spot.
Yeah.
Coffee, snacks. There's tables, so if you want to sit down and talk to someone or like just connect, you can go there.
Yeah, we were talking about how we've conditioned people for 2.5 years to just leave church because we didn't want to have any sort of spreads going on. But now that we're where we're at, we're trying to break that sort of mold. So we're trying to get the cafe used again, have people in there. There's great coffee. There's cheese this past week.
Coffee, tea, snacks, sweet and savory.
Yes.
Oh.
And we're looking forward to seeing how else we can utilize the space better for not just connections, but these intergenerational relationships to form.
Yeah. So, Cameron.
Willie.
I was going to ask if you would mentor me in fishing, but I thought about it a little more, and I think I'm going to go ask someone. Yeah, I think I'm going to go ask someone else.
Please do. And when you do, can I jump on board too?
No, I'm going to learn, and then I'm going to teach you.
Oh, got it.
So it's a cycle.
Maybe we'll find separate fishing mentors and see who's better.
Oh, that's an idea. Compare notes? All right. If you enjoy fishing, if you're a fishing connoisseur, please hit us up. Because I'm tired of getting skunked. I am tired of sunrise pictures. I am tired of empty coolers. And I know that I am tired of frozen squid sitting in the freezer for no reason. Please hit us up. Genuine cry for help. But yeah, so this was really helpful. Just like expanding on a lot of the concepts that can seem very daunting. But just knowing that it's like not as intimidating as it seems. You don't have to have everything figured out. You don't got to be the 3-stripe black belt to bring someone along the journey. And it's just the small things that you can't learn off of YouTube. The really like hyper specific character things. So it's really good.
Yeah,
really good.
Really, it is.
Well, Cameron,
Lily,
I've been thinking about making focaccia, different kind of bread. So I might do that tomorrow.
That sounds fun.
But anyway, thanks for sitting down. Thanks for making some time. I'm gonna go eat. I got some Dave's Killer, so I'm gonna go eat some bread now.
Sounds good.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time on the Hana podcast.
Shoots.